Bada bing, bada boom, back in studio with my man Don. What's up, brother?
Boo! I'm doing good. How are you, Sam? You feeling better?
I'm feeling superb, especially since you brought in such an awesome guest this week. Tell them about her.
Tania Pomales.
Where'd you meet her?
At Art Walk in Smithville. It seems like a lot of our guests are people that I met at Art Walk in Smithville.
Well, they're the greatest people in the world.
They kind of are. That's why I keep going back for more. Tania talked with us. It was a great conversation. We talked a lot about her art and her incredible skull collection.
A little bit about meditation.
A lot about meditation. She brought us stickers. Mm-hmm. Which is fantastic.
Video games, like all my favorite things in one episode, my brother.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was like a nice mix of getting to know her, how she looks at the world creatively as well as spiritually.
Yeah, I feel like there's some people who might be afraid, but some people who will also connect.
Yeah.
So without further ado, would you introduce our guest, my man?
Tania Pomales.
Oh, I'm back, baby. I spent last week in
quarantine.
I didn't want to use that word. I really didn't. But yes, I was with the old pink eye.
Ooh.
Yeah. Working with kids, things like that can happen. But I'm all healed up, and I'm in person for our guest, Miss Tania.
Hello.
What's up, Tania?
I'm good. How are you?
Welcome. You and Don already knew each other?
Yes.
Yeah. We met, I think, at the Smithville Art Walk.
Yes.
Probably back 2016.
That sounds about right.
There. Yeah. I forget how we first started talking. Do you know Mike Bell? Is that?
Yes.
I think that's how we started that conversation.
So Mike Bell was actually my mentor. He was the one that helped me figure out how to get into art galleries, how to do this whole professional art business thing, and not suck at it, and just how to be more comfortable, kind of navigating that. So then I told you that I met him. I think you walked up to my table.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was towards the beginning of the day or the end of the day when I've gotten a little delirious because it's a long event, but yeah, that's how we met, talking about Mike Bell.
Yeah. I'm friends with Mike's brother. Like, I've met Mike a couple of times, but like his brother's son and my son were like best friends all through like junior high and high school and stuff like that. So it's just South Jersey's a pretty small world.
Yes.
Yeah. So Tania, let's talk a little bit before we get into some of the stuff that you've done. Let's talk a little bit about your artwork itself, like where that inspiration. I know there's like flowers are prominent, like body parts, skulls. I think you have a collection of skulls.
I do.
So
I call it the shelf of death.
Whoa. I'm gonna just let you keep going.
Yeah. So talk to me. Like, where did all that start?
So when I was a kid, I had a very, very odd fascination with Egyptian history.
Oh.
Particularly the mummification and spiritual and all the weird stuff.
Yeah.
What somebody would perceive as weird.
I
thought it was fascinating.
Taking out all those good old-fashioned organs.
Yes. So I really liked studying that. I liked the art aspect of it. I liked the, what happens in the afterlife, what people were buried with and why.
Was it a teacher that got you interested, or a TV show, or what was it?
The Scholastic Book Fair. Remember when the book fair used to go to school?
Yeah, I did.
My God.
Anything to get us out of class.
My parents would give me like $20 and I'm like, books.
Well, you used to be able to buy a lot for $20. That's
yes.
Like it was.
Now you get like
half a book.
Yeah, right. Like 3 pages here. Thanks. But yeah, at the Scholastic Book Fair. So I would, look for the spooky type of stuff.
Yeah.
I used to watch Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Come on now.
Yeah, Goosebumps.
Part of that Midnight
Yeah.
Society. I still
Yes.
watch those with my kids.
Yep.
Nice.
The Addams Family, The Munsters.
yeah.
I love The Munsters.
Yeah.
So, and then my favorite movie.
By the way, I met Grandpa Munster when I was a little
Oh,
kid.
that's
Al
amazing.
Lewis?
I guess I was a little kid and I was there. Well, I was there for Macho Man Randy Savage,
Yeah.
who I just so happened to work with 20 years later, which was kind of cool to tell him
yeah,
about
yeah.
that.
That's
But
epic.
there's this older guy there, and he's taking silly photos with me. I'm like, Dad, who was that? And then we went down the Munsters rabbit hole, and that was my experience with Grandpa Munster.
Yeah, he was out and about. Like Al Lewis was just like a personality. Like I know he used to hang out a lot in New York too. For I think he might have run for like a political office at one point.
Huh.
I like Grandpa Munster.
Yeah, I can tell, man. The look on your face, you're glowing.
Yeah, that Car 54. Where are you? Like Al Lewis is great. Sorry.
The Munsters are awesome. And then the guy who's also in My Cousin Vinny, who plays the judge.
Yeah.
I love that movie. But then going back to like childhood influences, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
My mom used to play that for me like on repeat. God bless her soul. So patient to watch the same movie probably 3, 4, 5 times.
I mean, if you're going
In
to pick
one day.
one,
Yeah.
she chose wisely. I'm upstairs watching Frozen too many times.
Oh, do you want to build a snowman?
This is Halloween. That's what I want.
Yeah, that was so looking back, I realize where all the influences came from and why that pops up in my work now. But yeah.
Are you still into the spooky stuff?
Oh, absolutely. My nickname is the Skull Queen.
You sound so sweet and unassuming. You don't seem like you have a look at your face. She's just like, yeah.
That's part of the whole shtick.
A skull. Man, I got
That's
a
the
lot
mask.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what kind of horror are you into nowadays?
The last thing I saw was Fear Street.
Okay, I never saw that one.
It's like a 3-part series on Netflix. Like that's pretty gory.
That was good.
Yeah, it was. Like I was doing the whole like, I don't want to see it.
Are you
but
in? Okay, one more question about horror. You're into the gory movies?
Yeah,
Have you seen Terrifier?
I have not.
Oh my god! Listen, when you see Terrifier, message me afterwards.
Okay.
I mean, you might judge me, but I mean, actually, someone who has a collection of skulls, you might just thank me. But let me know, because I feel like this movie was made for someone like you, for sure.
All right.
And I mean that as a high compliment.
Thank you.
Of course.
I will check that
I
out.
don't know if I can do that.
No, I would not recommend it for you.
I'm not into gory stuff. I'm just.
Last movie you want to see?
I love suspense. I
Okay.
love like
What about like something like Silence of the Lambs?
I loved Silence of the Lambs.
Okay.
I love Silence of the Lambs. I love The Shining. I really like Nightmare on Elm Street.
It's good.
But there's like, I don't know. If anything, like I think when it's gory and it's like, oh, this is clearly just
For gore's sake.
yeah, like that's okay. But when it's just slightly heightened reality, where it's like, oh, this looks a little too realistic. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Like the thing that I still won't watch is the scene in Jaws where like they're going scuba diving. I think it was Richard Dreyfuss' character's going scuba diving, and then all of a sudden a head just bobs like through a hole in the boat.
That's too much for you.
Oh man, I can't watch that anymore. I'm like, oh, he's got scuba gear on. Fast forward like 3 minutes.
Hey, did you watch the Nightmare on Elm Street movies? Did you guys watch those?
Yeah,
long time ago.
the first 2 I watched.
Oh, I was going to ask you because my favorite one was the Dream Warriors.
Okay.
And I got to interview Kincaid on my old podcast with Dan Morrow.
amazing.
Yeah, like the strong black dude
Yeah.
who was like real badass, like in his dreams. Yeah, he was so cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
So, speaking of like horror in your art, I messaged you earlier. Don doesn't know this, and I messaged you and I was like, "Hey, based off your art, you might think my podcast studio is kind of cool." And it just so happens you brought us gifts that are gonna fit in just fine.
Yeah, these are great.
And I mean, like, I already see where I'm gonna put it. What just for the listeners who can't see, what did you bring for us?
I brought really cool stickers depicting my skull-themed work.
So what are the titles of these 3 pieces?
So
here?
the one with the eye,
The skull with the eye in its mouth.
yes, that one's called Ghost in the Machine.
Okay.
The orange and purple one that is like a skull turning into a tulip, that is called The Soul of Frenzied Flame.
Whoa.
And that title is inspired by Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm.
And then that one, I believe, because I did these a while ago, I believe that one is called Mother.
Okay.
No, that one's called Lumen. And that one has like an elongated jaw that kind of fans out into like these weird teeth things.
Yeah.
So.
And the other one is called Lumen.
Yeah.
I would assume there's a lot of people out there who would look at this stuff and wonder, what is it about this stuff that you love? Like, what is it with the skulls and the darkness and a little bit of flower beauty?
Well, I think the interesting thing is like all of these, they're skulls, vacant of eyes, but there's always one singular eye, and I've noticed that in a lot of your work. So is that like the all-seeing eye? Like, where is that coming from?
That's coming from the idea of like a higher consciousness or like a higher self, a higher good. Like the part of you that you consult, it's kind of like having the devil and angel on your shoulder. The
That
part
mystical
of you,
third eye
yeah,
kind of thing. Yeah.
the part of you that you consult when you're, when you're trying to find your way, even when things aren't that great.
Yeah.
So I like putting that in a lot of my work, kind of like as a reminder to myself, but also as like a, message to everybody else. Yeah. And I like the skulls because I like exploring the theme of like the cycle of life and death and how things die and then they're reborn and everything kind of goes anew. You deal with this throughout your life as people. Parts of you have to die in order for parts of you to be born and to grow. And that is something that I like exploring in my work a lot. And I know that a lot of people see my work and they might be frightened by it, which is never my intention. But it's also a heavy topic. So, like, how are you going to talk about life and death if you don't show actual death?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're kind of just skirting the whole topic and not getting to the meat of it.
Why are you so interested in death?
Back to the Egyptian thing. I'm also curious what happens.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens. Nobody knows what happens, It's something I think about. Not often, but it kind of pops up in my head. Not to get too heavy, but my mom passed away in 2018. Yeah. So that was like, that was a very visceral experience to have your parent and then not have your parent.
Sure.
Like, what happens? Where did they go? Are they okay? Are they still here? And, they are. When I look in the mirror every morning, I see my mom. I see her in my eyes. I hear her in my voice, in the sayings that come out of my mouth when I'm angry.
Sure.
She's still here.
Yeah.
But it's that idea of what happens after the fact. I've always been curious about that. And then also the way in which different cultures respect and honor those who have passed away. There's so many different, like, very interesting ceremonies to honor the lives of people who we loved, like Day of the Dead in Mexico. Sure. Love that.
Yeah.
Egyptian burial. There's one culture that escapes me, but like they actually exhume the people that they have buried.
Yeah.
And like redress them.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Like the name escapes me, but it's really fascinating. And they're not at all like it's not weird to them.
Yeah.
They're just like, this is just a member of the family.
Are...
We're bringing them out. We're cleaning them up. We're honoring them. We'll put them back later, and they just keep going on with their lives.
Dude, man, that must be so hard for like a loved one to dress your loved one who's passed away.
I suppose it depends on what your relationship is with death. I mean, like all of the things that we've learned about death, we've learned from like our parents and our social, our social network. So if that input is different, maybe we experience death slightly differently.
There are cultures that kind of, have it front and center. Like certain Eastern cultures, one of the things they meditate about, like monks, there are certain monks that meditate every day about the fact that they will die. And the purpose of that is to be present so that they're not wasting time worrying about things that they can't fix or things that aren't even here yet.
Yeah.
They're here in the now to do their service as monks and to focus on that. So meditating on their own mortality keeps them in check.
Yeah. I find it fascinating. There's certain monks like that will practice self-mummification, which is like that's some commitment.
Monks are metal as heck, man. Like they are just like they go all the way or they just won't do it.
Yeah.
Well, how do you mummify yourself if you're living?
That's a great question.
I think it's like slowly poisoning yourself and like starving yourself of nutrition and meditating at the same time. It's like at one point I think they're buried for like 5 days or something like that, and then if they don't send up a signal or they know that they've succeeded, it's you should look it up. It's fascinating.
It is.
They don't have one of those bells to ring. It's like I'm struggling.
I think there might be a bell involved.
There might be a bell.
They should have a bell.
But there's like pictures of these people who are perfectly preserved.
Yeah.
Like they just it's
okay.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So my question to both of you is, like, I was listening to a podcast about this the other day. Like, there's so many other ways. Like, traditionally, people are cremated or friggin' buried and rotting under the ground. But then there's like these new ways where like people can be like, I don't even know how to say it. I'm gonna butcher this, but buried in a way that like you kind of like nourish a tree or mushrooms, and bring new life. I know there's like other options. Have you guys like come to a conclusion or at least thought about like what you want them to do to your body?
Who wants to answer first?
I'd probably cremated.
Put in an urn or spread it over the mountains?
I don't care. Throw a rock around my legs and just throw me overboard. It doesn't matter. At that point, I don't care.
I mean, you're not going to know.
I'm not using this anymore.
Okay.
But I am somewhat of a hoarder in my life, so maybe I'm like, maybe want to keep that around for a little while. But nah, just get rid of it.
Just get rid of it?
I don't need it.
Okay.
I don't want to necessarily like my parents are both buried up on Long Island at the Calverton Cemetery up there. If you visit, say hi. But like I never get a chance to get up there.
Yeah.
Like I would rather spend time thinking about them as they live than worrying about visiting them when they're dead. Like I don't need to be close to them physically to be close to them spiritually.
Yeah. Yeah. Since my dad passed a year ago, like I think about that. He's buried halfway across the world, but it's like I have his picture there by my sink. So every morning, like getting my coffee, it's like, hey, Dad.
Yeah.
Hope you're proud of me. You know, kind of thing. Yeah, but he got buried in the Jewish cemetery, that whole nine. So I'll probably go visit him some point. I don't know how that's going to feel, but I'll find out. What about you?
So my mom's buried all the way in Puerto Rico. I have to literally hop on a plane to go over there. So I don't know. I always joke, stick me in a box with art supplies. put my brushes in there, some paint, sketchbook, pencils, like do it. And I always tell my boyfriend, I'm like, if I leave before you and you don't put art supplies in my casket, I will yank your feet while you're sleeping.
Oh, wow.
That's harsh.
I'm pretty scared.
Yikes. Yikes!
I want to get out of the bed.
So what got you started? I guess creatively.
So I've been drawing and making art since I was 3 years old. And the only reason I know that is because when we were cleaning out my mom's office, I found a very big box full of drawings, and I didn't know that she would like label what age I did them and what I said it was according to, whatever idea I had of what I did. So the earliest one was a drawing when I was 3, and it was an eagle, and it was like super jacked up eagle, but it was an eagle according to me. And I kept looking through the box, and I realized that she documented my entire like artistic journey from the moment I picked up a pencil. And she had different jobs as I was growing up. She used to work for Wawa. She was a social worker. She did a lot of different things. But whenever she would go out to work, she would come back with like a little, box of pencils or like crayons or something. And she always encouraged me to make art and never, kind of clipped my wings in that sense. My father as well. My father worked a lot, so growing up, our relationship was a little weird, but I love my dad. He was always supported everything that I did. If I needed help, like financially pursuing something, like I went to college, he helped me pay for some of that. And both of my parents really encouraged me to make art because they saw that it's what I loved doing, and they didn't want to take that away from me because they came from poverty and they didn't really get to do the things that they wanted to do growing up because it was, work, survive, get out of poverty.
Sure.
That was it. So now that they have a kid that's pursuing a dream, they wanted the best for me, and they did what they could to accomplish that. So,
yeah.
Do you have artists that you look at that you're actually influenced by, or is that not a thing for you?
I am. I really like Salvador Dali's work.
You like my tattoo?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Very awesome.
Made by the great Sue Murder.
I know Sue.
You know Sue
I
Murder?
love Sue. Sue's awesome.
She did this for me right after we did a podcast.
I love Sue. She's so great.
Oh
what a
my
wonderful
God.
human
She
being.
knocked it all in one shot. We talked the whole time. It was great.
Sue's badass. I love
She
Sue.
is
awesome.
about as badass as it gets.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's Salvador Dali, Frida Kahlo, Chet Zar, who interviewed me on his podcast, the Dark Art Society podcast. Nerve-wracking as hell. Mike Bell, who was my mentor. I was aware of his work before he was my mentor. And just anything that, looked weird and wasn't like your Brigantine Beach landscape.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh, that's different. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at that and study that. And that's kind of how I came up with my weirdness. My college professor, what is her name? Margaret McCann. If you Google Margaret McCann's work and then you look at my work, you'll see a lot of influence from her teachings in the work that I do because she was so good at what she did. Got on my case a lot because she felt that I wasn't like reaching my potential. So, when you have that teacher that's always picking on that particular student and that student's like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
But like they're on you because they see that you can be pushed further. That was our relationship. And at times I'm like, Margaret, leave me alone. But she really helped me grow as an artist. And you can see, if you look at her work and then look at mine, you can see how that sort of fit into my artistic career.
Does she know?
She does.
Good.
She does. I
That's
have a lot of respect for her.
Yeah. That's important to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy you told her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's probably pretty proud of you.
I would hope so. She definitely brought more out of me than what I thought was possible.
That's amazing. And so you do these, do you do the Monster Bash? That's what it's called, right? In Smithville?
Yeah, that's it.
Mike Spagnola's deal?
Yeah, I used to. So I used to do all the events at Smithville prior to the pandemic. The pandemic hit and kind of like, it wiped me out in a lot of ways. But one of the ways was like the slog of packing up your vehicle and unpacking it at the thing and then, you know, dealing with that and then packing it and then going back home.
I never thought about that aspect. That does seem like a pain in the butt.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, it's part of the job. It's part of being an artist. If you travel and do shows, it just comes with it. But after not doing it for like almost 2 years, and then thinking about doing it again, it's like.
So you don't miss it? You don't?
I do miss it. I miss it because of the community. I miss people walking up to me and saying hi. I miss all the like happy reactions to my work. And I miss all the reactions that made me laugh because people were absolutely terrified by what they saw and ran out of the tent. I had one lady who was like, she's like, oh, this looks like witchcraft. And I'm like, oh, we're signing up for the coven. You know, 5 o'clock if you want to fill out your application.
Yeah. 666.
Never saw her again.
Oh, really?
But I do miss that. I miss that a lot. And recently I was at Fan Expo Philly. I went there to meet Neil Newbon, voice actor and motion capture actor for Baldur's Gate 3. He does Astarion, the pale elf, the handsome vampire that everybody's going absolutely batshit over.
What's the name of this vampire?
Astarion.
Astarion.
Yeah.
This is what all the girls are like.
Oh my God. It's crazy. I mean, the line to
me. What is
meet.
it about vampires? The ladies love the vampires.
It's true.
It's a thing. I don't know.
I don't know about you, but from what I know from the last 25 minutes, I'm guessing, are you not, or are you a fan of the Twilight vampires?
No.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah.
No.
Would you have a favorite, movie?
Do you like the Anne Rice vampires?
Yes. And I was going to say Interview with the Vampire was my jam.
Actually, it's been a long time since I've seen that. But, yeah, sort of. The most recent vampire thing I've seen is the Dracula series from BBC with Klaus Bang.
Oh, I don't know that.
Oh, my God, it was so good. It was amazing. But I like that type of vampire.
Yeah.
He's, terrifying, but he's handsome, but he's interesting and he's mysterious, but he'll absolutely rip your throat out if you look at him the wrong way.
What about stuff like True Blood? Did you watch that?
I didn't watch that.
Oh,
I actually didn't watch that. I didn't really have time to watch that when that came out.
Did you guys ever see Vampire Hunter D? The old anime?
Oh, the anime?
The anime. Oh, I thought for sure you'd be like, yeah, Vampire Hunter D.
No, I need to watch that.
If you get a chance, especially the sequel too, because the art in that I think is really cool. And this was before, it became before it transcended to America. You just kind of had to find it or have a friend who knew about this movie.
I gotta check that out.
It was pretty badass.
But yeah, so I went to this convention to meet Neil. I actually brought. You saw the drawing that I posted on Facebook.
Yeah,
I brought that with me, and I had him sign the drawing I did of Astarion, and he was like, "Wow, this is amazing." But the line to see that man wrapped around and back on itself 5 times from the table to the convention door and back again. But while I was there, I was looking at all the hustle and bustle of people, everyone cosplaying, everybody happy, talking to all the artists at the tables. I'm like, man, I miss this.
Yeah.
I miss that feeling of people seeing your work and you getting to see that authentic reaction that they have to your work.
Yeah.
You don't get that when you're sitting at home staring at your easel for 10 hours. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I do miss that, and I'm not opposed to doing events again. I actually want to. I'm doing so many other things that it's kind of hard to fit it in.
Sure.
But the last time I went to Smithville, Mike actually wrote on my little space in chalk, "Welcome back." And like he
Yeah.
told everybody that I was going to be there. So
Yeah.
that was super cool.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's good people.
He's great. Most
Sweetest
people don't realize that when they first see him.
sweetest punk I've ever met.
Yeah.
Oh, him and Alexa Gould, they're just like the power couple. I love
Yes.
those two.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like something that we started to talk about before we got on mic is just the how many of us that we've talked about have been involved with education to a certain degree, and like you've been a substitute teacher, and
Yes.
like what's kind of been your experience with that? I know it's kind of, you said it's kind of like a mixed
Substitute,
It is.
that's rough.
It's hard
Yes.
because you're like not the full-time gig there.
Everyone likes to pick on the subs.
Oh, yes. Especially when you work with high schoolers like I do. They're vicious.
Brutal.
So I've been subbing for about 10 years. When I started versus now, it's entirely different. You have kids, they went through the pandemic.
Yeah.
They went through that period of isolation. They went through that time of missing like major life events like prom and
Sure.
weird graduations. And, not having those social moments and social skills and all of that, which is so paramount to your experience as a kid growing up. So then you mix that with parents that don't know what to do because they're not used to their kid being home all day long. And they have to change the way they live their lives. And, all of that kind of just mashed into a perfect storm.
Yeah.
And now you're dealing with kids that, might not have the greatest manners,
Yeah.
might not, have the greatest social skills. And it's not their fault, like I said. But when you're a teacher and you're expected to teach and be kind of like a parent and also discipline and still teach, it becomes very overwhelming and you
Sure.
get burnt out very easily. Then you pair that with administration that is focused on trying to keep the school running to the best of the ability and lessening the amount of kids that keep getting written up every day.
Yeah.
It's a mixed bag, and you have teachers that are, they love what they do and they're amazing at it, but you kind of see the flame kind of dwindle.
That's sad.
And they leave. I know a lot of teachers that have left the profession, and the number one thing they cite is the fact that they can't really teach. They're too busy disciplining, and they're too busy kind of trying to stop the ship from sinking, but the ship's going to sink, and you can't do it. It's like that meme where Jack Sparrow's on the ship and it's sinking, and he like steps on the dock and keeps what. That's kind of how it feels like. That's kind of how I feel right now.
Do you think, I'm only asking this from my own experience, like my first 2 summers during and after COVID, oh my God, here at camp, I mean, they definitely needed to relearn some socializing because they were, even though we had less kids because of the pandemic, it was the toughest summer of my career just because, man, kids forgot how to be appropriate with each other and how to work with the authority figures and all that. It was really tough. And here we are X number of years later, and like everything is basically back to normal. Everyone's having a great time. No more issues like that. Do you feel like, I don't know, but I'm also only working with kids up to 14 years old who, probably had a different experience than the high schoolers of today did. Do you think that it's getting better, or is it the same as it ever was?
I think it's starting to get better. I see a lot of kids that maybe a couple years ago they were still recovering from all that, really weren't interested in school. And now they're like, the pressure's kind of mounting because they kind of have to figure out what to do. So they're starting to realize that all the things that they didn't think were important, like social skills and manners and, applying yourself and just trying your best to do the best that you can. Like, really, that's all they're asking. They're starting to realize how much that matters because that applies to whatever you do outside of school. So now they're kind of starting to get their act together. And because everything else is sort of normalizing, I think they're kind of just like sliding back into what it was before. But
do they realize you play video games and collect skulls?
That definitely helps with the cool factor.
Yeah. I wish I had a teacher who collected skulls. Come on.
Yeah, you should see the kids when I mention that I play Elden Ring. They go absolutely nuts. They're like, "Oh, miss, you play Elden Ring? What's your build? What's your favorite weapon?"
I have friends who've been playing it forever. I mean, that's all they play, and I can't get started on something like that.
It's a beautiful game. I got into it for the art aspect, and at first I got really like frustrated because you die all the time. You die like every 10 minutes. Just get used to the fact that you're gonna die, because you're just gonna die. But the game is so beautifully designed in terms of art and the enemy design and the armor, like the medieval style armor, and all the inspirations that they got from actual like historical periods. That was enough to keep me super interested, and then I kind of figured out the mechanics of the game, and then I did what they call in the Souls community, I got good. So now I'm really good at that game.
Do you still die every 10 minutes, though?
No.
Oh, it's like 12 minutes now, right?
I've gotten like almost 2 hours without dying in that game.
Oh, you're like an elder.
I can barely do that in real life.
Walk out of your door dead. Open the fridge dead.
Yeah, but he's learning every time. He gets stronger. He levels up. Right. You ever hear of Hades? I've been playing Hades lately.
I have not played Hades, but I have looked into it. The art is amazing.
Incredible. It's based off of Greek mythology, and you're trying to get out of hell because Hades is your father. But you got the help of Zeus and Aphrodite and everyone else along the way. It's very cool.
I also played Liza P., which is a Souls-like, but with the lore of Pinocchio. So you are basically Pinocchio running around killing all these like evil puppets that are trying to take over the world. And it's amazing. The fact that they figured out how to make that work and be so cool is amazing.
Oh, I might have to play that one.
Free on Game Pass.
Yeah, they're taking all these old characters we grew up with and like turning them into horror, like Winnie the Pooh.
Listen.
And I think Pinocchio's gonna have one.
Yeah, like this game, like you're going through the city and like you're seeing like all these puppet bodies like impaled on like these spears and stuff.
Oh, Don's
and
having a
things
hard time
fire.
right now.
Like that's the game.
Yeah, that sounds badass.
It was kind of like shocking at first because you grow up with Pinocchio's sweet, and then you go play this.
Yeah.
Then you go play this game, and it's like, oh, wow, that's a little.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah, Don's like, these two weirdos.
Not so much.
Cool. I love departures from like traditional stories, or what we grew up with. I mean, most of the fairy tales that have been Disneyfied are departures from their original.
Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah. Snow White, even. I mean, even the original, like, Book of Wizard of Oz is different from the movie. So.
Yep.
Oh, that's true. You guys ever hear of what's the thing called where you say something and it can't be true either way? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's there's one about Pinocchio. It's like my favorite one where it's like, what if Pinocchio said, "If my nose grows, I'm lying"? What are those things called?
I don't know.
It's not a catch-22. Someone who's listening to this is gonna be like, "It's a this, you dummy."
Schrodinger's cat?
No,
I don't know.
I was just reading an article about this.
You guys keep talking. I'm gonna figure this out.
Right.
Google it.
Because I messed this up.
Use your pocket computer.
Yeah.
I didn't have one of these for a whole month.
I think we should just sit in silence and watch.
You survived.
I actually thrive.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know if I could. I've left my phone home for a day, and I was like, oh, that's a relief. And then but the thought of leaving it for a week.
I actually took all social media off my phone. I put it on a spare iPhone that I use to record, videos and take pictures, but it's not on my main phone. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to see what it was like to not have that stuff literally in your pocket. Amazing.
So,
Yeah.
I have found it. The word I'm looking for is a paradox.
Oh, it's a paradox.
Yes.
And the paradox is, what if Pinocchio says, "My nose grows now"? That's my favorite paradox in the whole world.
Paradoxes
It drives
are
me
cool.
nuts. Paradoxes are cool, right?
They are.
So since you aren't doing these events, like, how are you selling your artwork? What do you do? What does sell? Like, I love these stickers, but like, what else is out there?
So I make and sell a lot of work through galleries. So I'll make paintings and I'll ship them to like California, or I'll do online galleries. So basically, I make the painting, the show goes live online. I keep it until it sells, and then when it sells, I ship it out. I'll do
How do these people find out about you?
Instagram.
Oh,
Instagram.
okay.
Some of them I've actually like messaged, just trying to see if they were interested in new artists, and some of them replied, some of them didn't. But a lot of them found me through Instagram, which is pretty cool. So I just make the work and send it. It sells. If it doesn't sell, it stays there because like I really don't have space for it. I work out of a kitchen that is about the size of this shed.
Oh, do you also cook in that kitchen?
No, thank God. Because my house is a duplex, so that used to be an apartment up there, so it just got converted to a studio. So I work out of there. It's very difficult, especially when you're trying to do larger work, because you really don't have space, and you're literally playing musical chairs by yourself because
You
moving
so much
stuff.
better.
Yeah, you're moving stuff around, and it's like, but at least I have a place to work. So I sell work that way. I'll post stuff online on Facebook, and people will just be like, "Oh, I want to buy that," and they buy it. And that's kind of how I've been, moving along.
And how does, because I'm looking at like this skull with the eye in it, and I just don't have a clue. Maybe Don can look at this and see what you did here, but like to me, it's like, how did you make this? Like, where do you even get started?
So I have, as I mentioned, a shelf full of skulls, and part of that is some actual replicas of human skulls, like medical replicas. So I'll take reference pictures, I'll use them, I'll kind of do a mashup on Photoshop of what idea I have. Sometimes the painting doesn't end up looking like anything of what I've mashed up because it just evolves on its own, but I tend to take my own reference pictures and just kind of work from there. I do a lot of meditation, so I'll kind of sit there and let whatever pops up in my head sort of inform the work that I'm making. I have a very weird process. I can get into it if you want, but it's like I know sometimes people look at me and I look like I'm zoned out, but I'm actually just like planning in my head what I'm going to paint. I take a lot of inspiration from nature. I take a lot of inspiration just from life. From medical illustration. I love medical illustrations. If you would like the work of Frank Netter.
Frank Netter?
Yes. If you Google Frank Netter, he does like really amazing but also gory medical illustrations to kind of drive home the point that like when you have this medical condition, it looks this bad. And his work is very beautiful, but also very like disturbing, like I mentioned. So I kind of take all that and just dump it in my mental visual library, and out pops the stuff that I make. Sometimes I'll see like completed work like in a flash in an instant, and I kind of have to scribble down what I saw so that I don't lose it. It's like when that lightning bolt of inspiration hits, you got to get it, otherwise it's gone.
Did Frank Netter possibly do art with the Devil's Rejects?
I don't know if Frank Netter did.
That's the first thing that popped up, and if that's true, I am a fan. Totally. Wow. So my actually one of my favorite artists too. I'm wondering if this is something with you, Jean-Michel Basquiat. I think when he was growing up, one of like his inspirations was, God dang, what's the name of that book with all the medical biology? Oh my God.
Grey's
Anatomy.
Yeah.
I have a copy of that.
You do too.
Yes.
So you were into that book too.
Mm-hmm.
I've never actually seen it, but I just know he
it's great.
studied
Yes.
that book.
Yep. Yeah, I have a copy of that. I have a copy of a lot of different like medical illustration anatomy books. Yeah.
Wow. What does your boyfriend think of all this?
He thinks I'm very strange, but he loves me. He loves me.
I've been interested for years in meditation, and I've tried. I felt like I got a little something out of it for the short amount of time, because I read this book. You probably have heard of it. Like, it's like a 8-minute meditation or something like that. It was a long time ago, and for a long time I was doing 8-minute meditations, and what I got out of that more than anything was figuring out how to be present in the moment.
Yes.
Oh my God, that was the biggest thing, where I'd be in my own head, and in a normal instance, it would just keep going and going. But like, because of the meditation, I'd be out working in the field, whatever I'd be doing. I'd be like, wait a minute, stop this nonsense in your head.
Yes.
Let's just play soccer with Casey or something, you know. Let's just stop focusing on this nonsense that hasn't even happened yet, you know.
Yep.
What about you? Like, what's your how'd you get into it? What's your process?
So I got into meditation, I want to say probably 6 months after my mom passed away, because I didn't know what to do with myself.
Oh, you were really struggling.
Yeah, so I'm like, well, you know, I have nothing to lose at this point. Might as well try it. So I got really into it, mainly because I wanted to find a way to get my brain to stop bombarding me with thoughts like every 5 seconds. You don't realize how much useless information you think about when you sit down and try to be quiet. Like, everything pops up. Things that happened in 5th grade when Sally called you ugly pop up. Like,
and I think people listening to this who have never meditated probably are like, well, I know what's going on in my head. I will second what you're saying. You don't freaking realize until you sit down and really focus on not doing that. And then you're like, oh my God, I can't stop.
And at first it's really hard, because, like, you know, I think people have this misconception that when you meditate, you're supposed to automatically be quiet and your mind is supposed to just stop. And that's not how it happens. Things pop up, and your job is kind of to acknowledge that the thought popped up and then let it pass. But do it in such a way where you're not judging yourself, because that's also the goal. Is
That'll
for
probably
you
lead to more thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It does. And you learn to be at peace with what pops up in your head, but also let it go without judging it and without judging yourself. And if you do that for long enough, you start building a capacity to look at problems and not be like so, you know, bent out of shape by them, because you can face them and be like, okay, this is what's happening. I can fix this about it. I can't fix this about it. So I'm just going to fix what I can fix. And you go on with your merry way. And that is really helpful, especially in today's world where literally everything is coming at you.
You are bombarded by stuff. Bing, bing.
I mean, yeah.
Just honking and phones, and it doesn't friggin' stop, especially in a city. God, you just can't avoid anything.
I mean, the moment that you wake up, where does our attention go? It goes outside, where we check our phones. We open our eyes and we're already having anxiety about all the stuff we have to do for the rest of the day. And, you know, everything is externalized. That's why you have a lot of people that don't know the things that they like, don't know what they want to do, and don't really know who they are, because they're looking for all those answers out there. All the answers are inside of you, but if you don't make the time to think about them and still yourself and be quiet, you'll never know. So you'll never hear that voice inside you that kind of guides you. That's your intuition. That's, you know, that's you trying to guide yourself, but you don't pay attention because you're like, oh, what, you know, did they answer my Facebook comment from yesterday? You know,
only 30 likes.
Right,
Come on.
right.
It's my best work. So if someone's listening to this and they're like, wow, this sounds like something I could use in my life, where will you tell Don he needs to get started?
So there's a really good book by John Kabat-Zinn called Wherever You Go, There You Are. And it does a good job of taking meditation and kind of contextualizing it in a way for like the Western world to get it without it being too like, I don't know, hard to understand. Because,
Yeah.
you have, if you study like yogic practices, you'll have words like, asana and dukkha and, nirvana and vasana and samsara. And you like all these words that people don't know what they mean.
People know Nirvana, but not because of,
Smells like Teen Spirit.
Never mind.
yeah. How dare you?
We did it.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
said
we
it.
did it. We did it.
But that's a great book. If you want to learn about meditation in a way that's like accessible, that's a great book. Books by Wayne Dyer are also pretty good, but I know some people don't like him because he's kind of new agey. I mean, he passed away. They used to call him the father of motivation. Like you don't get that title because you suck at what you do. Like he was good at what he did. So his books are really great. But wherever you go, there you are is the book that I would recommend people start with. It's a good one.
I should really look into that.
Have you never meditated before?
Not really, not successfully. Like I had tried briefly to do like chanting with some friends who were Buddhist, and I don't know, it didn't really take. My brain, it doesn't shut off ever. Like it races until I fall asleep, and then I wake up in the morning and it starts up all again.
Yeah.
It kind of takes practice. So I'm probably not on your level, but like I did that's why the 8-minute meditation, because like when you work and you got kids or life in general, like you get caught up, but like I was like 8 minutes, I think I can handle that. And sure enough, like I'd say I was doing it for a solid 3, maybe 4 months, and like 3 months in, you start to realize like, oh, I just got a solid 15 seconds of no thoughts. Yes. Wait, now you're thinking again. Damn it.
Yeah.
It's like I think that's what I think my meditation winds up coming like through when I'm creating something. It's like it's the only time that I'm truly like focused on what's going on in front of me, and the distractions from that was me hitting
amateur
the
move.
microphone. Such a
rookie move.
Noob.
We still need to get those pop things on
we'll
these
get
babies
those soon.
Yeah, we will.
Pop my peas.
Yep.
Like I find that when I get distractions outside of that, like if I'm drawing and it's like, well, you got to go to work in 2 minutes, I'm like, well, maybe I'm gonna be late for work for a few minutes. Like it's the only time that I'm really like quiet.
That's valid.
Does that count as meditating though?
There's different kinds of meditation.
Okay.
You can do, you can sit and be quiet. That's a form of meditation. Meditation can also be painting. It can be drawing. It can be walking through the woods. It's anything that kind of where you focus and you flow and you kind of forget that the rest of the world exists and you feel like you are most connected to yourself. That's basically a meditative practice. I can paint for 10 hours a day. I have no problem doing that. I feel most like myself when I'm creating. My meditations in the morning are typically about 20 minutes because after that the ADHD kicks in and it's like think about the next million things for the rest of the day because it's like go, 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 go. And I mean, I have ADHD, so teaching myself to calm down and make that time to be quiet was a huge challenge.
Do you have any thoughts about, it seems like so many artists that I know have ADHD
There's
a level, what do you think that is?
There's a massive correlation between neurodivergence and the creative community, and I think it's because our brains just can't stop creating anything, and we're always on the go, and we have a very unique way of seeing the world. And I mean, ADHD is hard. I'm not trying to say it's like, oh, it's the greatest thing. It's hard. It really screws you up with basic things.
Do you ever find it exhausting?
It is. It is very exhausting. And it's like something that will take someone 5 minutes, like writing a check to send somewhere if people still write checks. I still do that. Nobody does that, but I do. Like, that's such an easy task. But I'll put it off because it's like, my brain just doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Or like something as simple as folding your clothes. Now, to a neurotypical person, that'll be like, oh, this person is just lazy. But the thing about ADHD is the executive functioning part of your brain is literally like it's not working. And then our sense of time, there's like a temporal dysfunction with our sense of time where we underestimate how much it takes to do something and the amount of effort that it takes to do it. So that's why I feel like people with ADHD, a lot of us are constantly playing the game of catch up because we just, we're following the dopamine and not what we're supposed to be doing. But, I mean, I got diagnosed late. I got diagnosed at 32. So
Dang.
Yes. That was wild.
That's really late.
That was wild.
So you went through all of school.
I went through all of school. I got really good grades in school. I did very well in school, but it was because of the structure and the sense of immediate consequence. I knew that if I messed up, there was a consequence like right behind me to reprimand me for what I had done. Because I went to Catholic school.
I was going to say, that doesn't, well, I mean, maybe you love that. That's not really, I mean, I believe in consequences for your actions, but I don't want people to do things because they're fearing of a consequence. You know what I mean?
I absolutely agree with you. I was terrified in school. I was always worried that I was doing something wrong, which then created in me a very perfectionist way of doing things, which that's very bad. Perfectionism is not good. It is perfectionism will make you overanalyze every single thing that you do because you are trying so hard not to mess up, because you're worried that if you mess up, suddenly that's a judgment on your character and your capabilities as a person. And having, like, growing up with that and then having to unlearn that as an adult and being okay with messing up, being okay with failure, being okay with things not coming out exactly how you wanted them to be is very hard. Very hard. Very worth it. But I mean, like, the school system is not designed for kids with ADHD.
I would say it's not designed for kids.
I mean, it's not. It's not.
I mean, the fact that you're putting, especially putting boys in a chair for 8 hours, they have trouble sitting still. Girls too. I shouldn't just say boys, but from my experience, like, no boy works with this system. Like, there's the outlier who does.
Like, I'm wondering. Like, I think school's changed a little bit since I was a kid, but I was always really distracted by just everything and drawing in the margins and not paying attention and when I was in second grade, my teacher put me in a box in the back of the room that I could focus. And all it did was give me a cave.
What do you mean a box?
My desk had a cubicle around it the same size as the desk, and I couldn't see any kids, and I couldn't see the board.
I have anxiety thinking about this.
Yeah, it was rough. Yeah.
Ooh, I just had trouble breathing just thinking about that. Oh my God.
And they do that a lot in different ways. Like, they'll pull your desk, they'll stick you in a corner.
Yeah. Stay at the front of the classroom so I can pay attention.
Yeah, and it's very hard. It's very hard for kids with ADHD to get through the school system. Now I feel like there are more accommodations than when I was in school, but it's still difficult. Like, being a substitute teacher. And now understanding more about why I am the way that I am and why kids are the way that they are, I tend to not judge them for it, And it's not like an excuse. You're still responsible for your actions like anybody else. It's you have to do it differently, and that's fine. But, like, I won't get annoyed at kids that are, like, fidgeting or like getting up and walking around. I know where that comes from now. I get it. And I feel like a lot of teachers, you know, they're so busy trying to get the lesson done that it's like really frustrating when these curveballs come out. But there are teachers that do a really great job of just going with it.
In the long run, the teacher who can take the time to realize why someone's doing something and know that it's okay and how to make it work in your classroom situation, in the long term, those kids are going to be better off, and you're going to be better off down the road. It's those teachers that's like, no, you will sit down, quick fix. No, go to the principal's office. Those easy, quick fixes that aren't good for the teacher and definitely not good for the classroom in general. It's really good that you're thinking about these things. I think that there's a lot of teachers out there who could learn a lot from hearing that from you.
I would make those kids my helpers. Like, you want to get up and walk around? I need you to take these papers to the office because I'm not going to do it because I'm really busy. Hey, you want to pick up, that stuff that's in the corner and put it on the shelf, because I really don't have time for it. And I would just get them to help me with stuff. And it got to the point where they would volunteer. But then they didn't feel so singled out in class because you didn't have somebody constantly telling them, hey, sit down. Hey, you're out of your seat. Hey, you're disrupting my class. No, get them to do something constructive. Yeah. They'll chill out and they'll go back to what it is that they were doing.
Yeah, now they're not wrong. They're helping.
Exactly. You haven't made them feel bad about being themselves.
Right.
A lot of times I've also found that, like, if you just listen to them a little bit, like a lot of them just don't want to talk about biology and then creative writing for 8 hours. They'd like to tell you about Elder Ring or,
Elden Ring,
or maybe art or maybe The Simpsons or just what they did yesterday and why they scraped their knee. If they talk about that, suddenly it's like this weight lifts off their shoulders. It's like, all right, now let's go ahead and write this. Just teachers need to learn if they just sat back and really found a way, even if they're not interested, to be interested in what this kid is telling you, and they'll feel that, and it'll be good for both parties.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just because we're wrapping up, like, what are your future goals? Do you have any plans? Are you just going to keep rocking these pieces like you're doing now?
So, future goals is I feel like I should bring this up. I'm actually a South Jersey Cultural Alliance cultural connector. So future goals is helping this program grow so that it can get funded another year.
What do they do?
So the South Jersey Cultural Alliance Arts and Culture Connectors, what they do is we function as we help network. We help artists meet other artists. We help coordinate events. We go to different events and gather this information and then compile it, so that we see what communities are being underserved, what communities are doing well, what could use more funding, why are certain people not, getting the help that they need. And it's a really interesting job because it has put me in a situation where I, as an introvert, have to be very extroverted. So it's helped with social skills. It has helped with being more comfortable with myself. But it has also helped me see the struggles within the artistic community that perhaps I wasn't, knowledgeable about because I haven't faced them. Or, different, like the LGBTQ community. I don't know the struggles that they face because I'm not in that community. I'm an ally to that community, but I wasn't aware of all the different, aspects of communication that make it difficult for them to be comfortable with sharing their story and their art in different areas. And sitting down and talking with these people and being able to help them has been very eye-opening. So I'm very grateful to be able to do this work, and I'm grateful that organizations like the South Jersey Cultural Alliance exist because it helps, it helps us grow as communities when we have those programs. And it helps show the fact that everybody is different, and we all do better when we celebrate what makes us who we are instead of trying to tear each other down because we're different. I've never really believed in that. I have all sorts of friends. I try to be there for everybody. So, and I think that's why I love art, because art is a universal language. It'll unite people that you never thought would be united, that you never thought you'd see standing side by side, and yet there they are, focused on a common, interest. And that's why art is so powerful, and that's why we need more of it and more organizations that bring it to the forefront.
Sounds like a good way to wrap this baby up. That was good.
Yeah.
Hey, if anyone wants to see your work, maybe purchase a little something, or if they also are interested in checking out the South Jersey Cultural Alliance, which direction are we pointing them?
So the South Jersey Cultural Alliance is www.sjca.net. And for me, you can go to my website, TaniaPomalesArt.com. That's TaniaPomalesArt.com. And you can find all sorts of information about me and buy some cool art.
Yeah, you're an interesting human, I must say. So you got a cool story. I really liked it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You have a picture of those skulls?
I do.
All right, let's check it when we go off air.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Tania.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.